Xbox Game Pass, we're looking at 10 games for January 2020. All of them great games. Just suggest you take a look at them, try them out, see if there's any favorites or anything you might have missed. First up, we have Untitled Goose game. So you get to play as a goose, and I guess it's a bit of a goose fantasy. It's finally available on console, as all of these titles are. This is specifically an Xbox console Game Pass selection. Some of them might be on PC too, but that's what we're focusing on. So back to the game. Yeah, you go and you do a checklist of things. You play as a goose. It's been, available ported-wise to consoles, and I think they do a pretty good job for the controls. It's a sort of physics game. It's a bit wacky and weird. You honk and you play as a goose. I don't know what more to tell you. It's the ultimate goose experience. It simulates the lifestyle and the experience of being a goose. Here we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which is definitely game of the decade, if not one of the best of the decade. Definitely one of the best of the decade. The Witcher 3 is an amazing RPG experience with a world that feels like it never ends, and it's not a world that you ever wish it to end. It's stunning. It's got an epic story that follows Geralt as he works with Yennefer and Triss, and they try to find Ciri. It's epic. It's large scale. There's many unique areas to explore. The graphics are stunning. The environments are amazing. It's enhanced. And it's just an absolutely wonderful narrative adventure. You can go on a side quest that takes tens of hours. You can do a main quest that takes so many hours to play. And you get to do it all within a world that constantly feels fresh and unique. It's gorgeous, it's remarkable, and it is a must-play experience. I really suggest this to anyone. If you've missed out on it, it is such a good game. Here is PS 2020, or eFootball PS 2020. It's now known as Pro Evolution Soccer. It's the latest release. It's available now. Soccer/football, whatever you want to call the sport. It has a ton of teams, a ton of niche teams, and yeah, they've actually done a really good job in regards to creating a more realistic and dynamic experience that does capture the authenticity of the event, the sporting event worldwide. I think it plays quite well. It's really great. It's absolutely a great competitor to FIFA, and it's definitely worth your time if this is a particular sport that you fancy. I think it's well done. It looks good, plays well. They've got a ton of different modes in it, online, offline. Whatever you want to play, it's got everything you would expect it to. It looks fantastic, beautiful kind of arenas and fields and pitches. Just generally a really good time, and its particular audience, I think it's worth checking out. Here is the next one, which is Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, also known as Tabs. Now, this is a game that is kind of like simple and to the point. It's not something I would sit there and play all the time, but it's kind of fun. You just pick your arena, and you plop a lot of troops down, and then you watch them fight, and that's the game. But you can jump in there and play as the troops if you want. You can jump in as an individual trooper like that guy there, or any other guy, and you jump in and fight. It's got fantasy troops, it's got magical things, maybe like vampires, there's woolly mammoths, there's all kinds of weird things, skeleton knights, I think jousters. It's just ridiculous. You set up battle scenarios, and then you watch everybody go at it. It's super simple, works well with controller. Looks cool. Fun game to play for a little bit, something different, something unique. And I think you might enjoy it for a bit. I don't know. It's quite different, and certainly wasn't something I expected to just kind of pop up, but alas, here it is. Now we have the next game, which is Halo Wars 2, an RTS title that's actually really great. I think this one is often overlooked. So what it is RTS is real-time strategy. There's multiplayer, there's a campaign, there's local battles. You're using all of these iconic sort of Halo leaders, and you're actually working through a story that is canon and within the lore. Kind of fills the gaps between Halo games, so it might be a little bit important to play, quite honestly. You build bases, and then you build troops, and there's like aerial troops, and there's vehicles, and there's foot soldiers, and you upgrade your base, and you capture resources, you fight for map control, you work through an engaging narrative with gorgeous blur cinematics. Great game. Definitely worth checking out if you like this kind of title. I think they do a great job on basically making it work well with the controller. I think it's a very well done game and gorgeous maps and just generally a lot of content to it that is released since the post-launch. Here we go with the latest Overcooked 2. So this is an incredible cooperative game. If you're able to play it with people, it's fantastic. You can play it by yourself like I'm doing here, but it's so much better when you're with a team. So basically what you're doing is you are attempting to create food, and you're able to do this by preparing it, cutting it, cooking it, delivering it. Then you have to wash the plates, and then the worlds are always changing. It's sort of a silly game. The cartoon style and aesthetic really works for it. I think it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite titles, strangely. I think they absolutely nail the co-op aspects of it, making it a very compelling sort of thing. Again, you can play it by yourself, but it's better multiplayer. You can do that cooperatively. There's some competitive things. Just generally a lot of content to this. Some extra DLC stuff too to it. And it's a lot of fun. They're just cooking. It's nothing too insane, but yet at the same time, it's absolute madness. So here we have World War Z. This is a cooperative zombie survival game that really feels like Left 4 Dead. It's kind of different from that, but the general gist of it is you're working as a team, you're battling through situations, holding up positions, making it through places, and you're doing this online with others, so you can do it locally like I am now. There's certain classes, and yeah, it just works out well, but the real fun of it is the absolute insanity in regards to the quantity of zombies you have to deal with. You're dealing with actual hordes here in many situations. It's got great visuals, great gameplay, it's a ton of fun. There's online multiplayer too that works strangely well. You're in the middle of like the zombie attacks and there's swarms coming through the map and you have to battle others. It works very well. There's a lot of gameplay to this, a lot of content. I thought this was fantastic. It was a huge surprise, and it was far better than I would have ever anticipated the sort of adaptation being. I think they absolutely nailed it. Here's a good one. This is Gears 5. I played this a lot casually, just outside of things. They add a ton of new content to it. They just added like free-for-all. You get a story which really does carry the narrative forward, more of an open world perspective on that. They got a new escape mode, which is a cooperative mode where you're trying to run away as fast as you can as a swarm kind of attacks you and gains distance on you. That's really neat. Then they've got the traditional multiplayer, competitive, lots of different options, hoppers, things, constantly changing in that mode. So it's a little bit faster, a little bit deadlier, you know, they change up things, but it's generally Gears of War. Play the other titles if you can beforehand, but this is really a great one, especially if you want to get into like the new version of what the multiplayer is like. There's also horde mode for those that like to work together. You set up kind of these traps, defenses, as you try to work together as a team in order to survive as long as possible. Generally a fantastic game, one of the best this year, and it's highly worth checking out if you missed it at this point. Here we have the Escapists 2. So this is a jail-breaking game, so you're just trying to break out of all these crazy jails. It's got a really neat style to it. There's lots of crafting, there's lots of regular things. You can kind of just live a jail life too. You can work out, get a job there. You're trying to get key cards maybe, or tunnel out. You can fight guards, you can fight other people. You can do jobs to gain influence. There's set rules that you're supposed to do during the day. It's like actually being in jail, but you know, you're trying to escape because it's called the Escapists. And this is the second one. So it's bigger, it's more dynamic, there are multi-level jails, there's more activities you can do, and it's just a huge improvement over the original in terms of content and what it provides. I thought they did a great job with this one, quite well done. It has been a while since I played it, but yeah, it does deliver. It's quite an experience. Which leads me into the final one, which is Dead Island Definitive Edition. I think this one gets a little bit more flack than it should. They brought it back. It looks great. It's got a generally solid story. It's a cooperative game, so if you have some friends, it's great for that. It's an RPG, so there are some leveling aspects to it. There's actually a core narrative involved in this one. You drive cars. It's an open world game, so you can do whatever you want. But, you know, it is kind of more linear in design. It's not the massive open zombie island thing that people were expecting, and that's fine. It was a different kind of game. I quite enjoyed it. I think the Definitive Edition does wonders in regards to improving the visuals and the quality of the world. It should be noted that it has uneven achievements, which I totally forgot about as I logged one and I had to work to kind of fix it up. But yeah, generally I do suggest the zombie game. It's great. I quite like it. It holds up for me. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. You have other suggestions, let me know. Anything I might have missed. And hopefully we'll be able to do another list next month.